To drive us into a corner to force our unilateral nuclear abandonment. We will no longer be interested in such dialogue and cannot but reconsider our proceedings to the summit. This after the North canceled that key meeting with South Korea and threatened to withdraw over what they call provocative military ruckus. The U.S. and South Korea currently maintaining military drills dubbed Max Thunder exercises the Pentagon calls routine annual training. So the State Department says they have not been notified by the rogue regime of anything to the contrary.
We have not heard anything from that government or the government of South Korea to indicate that we would not continue conducting these exercises or that we would not continue planning for our meeting between President Trump and Kim Jong-un next month.
The surprise developments drew immediate criticism from former CIA Director John Brennan, who accused the president of being enamored with fire-aim-ready policymaking process that is fraught with pitfalls as well as potential disasters. But Republican Senator John Barrasso was more optimistic but cautious.
I continue to be skeptical. But this is the best opportunity we're going to have to get them to get rid of their nukes in a peaceful manner.
So talks are still set for June 12th. The White House says they're going to continue preparations unless they hear differently directly from North Korea. My guess, a prediction here, ladies, we may learn more on Twitter today. Stay tuned.
Yeah, the president should be getting up. He's already awake by now, I'm sure, Griff. We'll see what he has to say. Thank you very much. For more on this, let's bring in Patrice Lee-Onwuka, Senior Policy Analyst at the Independent Women's Forum, and James Carafano, Security and Foreign Policy Expert. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Patrice, I want to quote this North Korean diplomat. One of the top diplomats said, "We will not be interested in talks anymore if they," meaning us, "only try to push us unilaterally into a corner and force us to give up our nukes." And then they say that Trump will remain a failed leader. This is not rhetoric of a positive outcome for this summit.
I think they're pushing back on a lot of positive news that the administration has gotten in trying to actually secure this meeting. You know, those who are cautiously optimistic or those who are extremely pessimistic recognize, though, that North Korea is very likely going to have, they've reneged on their deals in the past, and they are probably just throwing up some roadblocks here. I think what was optimistic, though, in this case was the release of hostages recently, but they've done that in the past, in 2009 with Bill Clinton, in 2010 with Jimmy Carter. So, you know, I think what's going to matter here is the pressure that China kind of exerts here in the China-U.S. negotiations this week on trade. Can we can we use China's pressure in a way to wrangle in North Korea?
That's a really good question, Patrice, James. And I'll take that question to you, because where does China fit into all of this? We're still in very tense negotiations with the Chinese over trade. And now you've got the North Koreans pushing back, excuse me.
Yeah, you know, I think that's some really good analysis. Yeah, the problem with the China-North Korea linkage is we can't link them. You know, we can't be tough on China on trade and then you try to use them to help leverage North Korea. So I think those really have to run on separate tracks. But one is, we've seen North Korea do this before. It's nothing new. Two is, the administration has already said they're willing to do a deal and that we don't get everything and they get nothing. So that's all rhetoric. And the third is our strategy limits the capacity of the North Koreans to threaten us, regardless of whether they come to the table or not. So we really have all the cards.
Right. That's interesting. Patrice, I had Arizona Representative Martha McSally on Closing Bell yesterday here on Fox Business, and she's actually going to South Korea over the three-day weekend, the holiday weekend. Listen to what she says about the president's kind of role in all of this and what he needs to do and what he has done in the past about the North Koreans.
This president has put us in a historic opportunity, but we are going in, as the president has said, very clear-eyed that we've seen the North Koreans in the past play games with this, talk the talk, but then not change their behavior. So all of the hard work is really in front of them, and the North Koreans have to decide whether they want to continue to suffer under the maximum pressure campaign, which will only get stronger with President Trump's leadership.
Economic sanctions, Patrice. That's the true story here.
Yeah, I think it is. I think the North Korea and some of their rhetoric last night suggests that they're trying to downplay the impact of this maximum impact agenda. But you know, I think the proof is in the pudding in how their country is struggling. And you know, realistically, this is a country that's still in in a past generation. They do need to come forward. And unfortunately, the leader of the nation is more concerned about his standing and his nuclear ability and less about the, the economic security of his people.
Well, or about his own survival, James. This you have to remember that this top diplomat from North Korea also called out John Bolton and comments on these demands from John Bolton to denuclearize in North Korea. They're worried that they're going to turn into Libya. We all know what happened to Muammar Gaddafi.
I don't think the Libya comparison really holds up. I mean, it's a completely different story. And Gaddafi lost his country because he lost control of his country, not because he gave up nuclear weapons. And remember, he didn't even have nuclear weapons. So the whole comparison is just fatuous.
Oh, well, Patrice, James, again, watch your Twitter today, as Grip just said. We'll see what the president has to say about all of this. Thanks, guys.
Fascinating stuff. Well, Tesla facing new problems as it struggles to get production of its Model 3 sedan back on track. Tracy Carafano.